The Brothers of Liberty, here to remind you what true freedom is. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Liberty with the older brother Kelton here. Today we're going to talk about something that's not the elections. I know people are probably getting tired of the elections for the past couple of days, um, and obviously they're significant, but we're going to go on to something else. Now, there will be a little bit of politics discussed just to show you the point of view that I'm trying to make. But today actually involves a mother and her daughter. They were stopped by police at the Denver airport because a Southwest airline employee suspected the mother of human trafficking. A little 10-year-old girl. The mother was 42 years old, and they were stopped by police. Questioned. Um, and by the way, the mother is white, and the little girl is biracial. Um, Now, a lot of people are like, why does that have to play into it? I think that was part of the play into it because the parent and mother was different colors. Um, Now, we think we've gotten past this in this day and age, and yes, we should be on the lookout for possible human trafficking. But to make that assumption that's just because of the skin color. Now, the employee tried to say, "Oh, it's because they weren't talking on the flight and everything else." Well, this little girl just lost her uncle. They were actually going to Denver for her uncle's funeral. So, yes, how many people would actually be in a talking mood, especially someone that little, knowing that she'll never see her uncle again? It could have been her favorite uncle for all we know. We don't know because people make assumptions. Now, the mother did say they were talking on the flight and she was actually listening to an audiobook. Me, myself, and other people I know want to be left alone and stuff like that happens, even as adults. Um, so to say that, oh, they're not talking is a reason, and no, it's not a reason. Um, and this is why people talk about racism in America. This is why everybody thinks there's a, you know, when they talk about the critical race theory, which I'm against, but they want to say, everything's oppressive. It's white supremacy, systematic racism, and I beg to differ because when they say systematic racism, they always want to say that the United States is guilty of it, and they always want to point fingers at the Republican Party. Why, yes, they voted a black woman as a lieutenant governor, first person of color and woman in that position. And what does uh, Joy Reid says, or a guest on MSNBC, oh, a black person's talking, but a white person's controlling what she says, and it's a mouthpiece for white supremacy. No, that's racist right there saying that. Just because someone doesn't agree with your agendas and what how the country should be run, you're not called racist. I hate to tell you that. Because see, before racism got involved in politics, it used to be white and poor. Don't believe me? Watch any sitcom in the 1990s. Fresh Prince of Bel Air, a black family. But because they were rich, they were Republicans. A poor white family, ooh, they had to be Democrat. All the all the rich people, no matter white or black, were Republicans. All the poor people, no matter white or black, were Democrats. And then it switched the thing because they couldn't sell that narrative, so they're trying to sell another. The Democrats are trying to sell another narrative now, and that's I'm getting tired of these narratives. You, if you believe certain policies and stuff, there should be no party system, so you can actually vote on the policy you believe in. You shouldn't even see a name; just see what their views are and then vote them, because that's the best way to end everything right there and the narratives. But the Democrats and the Republicans don't want that because they want to stay in power. And what does this have to do with this story here? Well, because it's happened everywhere. You can't blame just a Republican. Last year, whether you agree or disagree with George Floyd being innocent or guilty or whatever the case may be, the cop had no right to put his knee on his throat. That also happened in Dallas to a white man where the white man died as well. But you didn't hear about that in the news. You heard about George Floyd all summer long. I'm not saying um, that people shouldn't protest as long as there's no riots. Protesting is fine. But the point is, if you're going to cite racism, you need to cite when it happens on both sides. Minneapolis, Democrat mayor, Democrat police chief. This officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck was reprimanded multiple times, and one of the senators, when she was the county prosecutor, dismissed it while she was running for senator, who was also a Democrat. Last Republican in Minneapolis served a day in 1970. The last elected one was 1957. So it can happen everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a Republican stronghold or a Democrat stronghold, because you have certain people that's always going to abuse their power and think they're better than everyone else. Doesn't matter if you're white or black. And in this case, the Southwest employee, who I think should be reprimanded, but they said they have the employee through some kind of training or something, um, decided that because they did not agree with the situation, they're going to call the cops and say, oh, they're human trafficking. And of course, everybody's saying, I wonder what happened if it was the child was more light skinned or white and the parent was black. We don't know. Would it turn out differently? Who knows? But case in point, it is happening. And in order for it not to happen, we need to grow up and take responsibility for ourselves and actually find the true people of racism instead of calling people racist based on their political ideas. Because as long as you're going to call people names because they don't agree with you and everything else, you're fueling the fire. You're not putting it out. You think you're putting water on it when it's really gasoline. So let's get back when racism wasn't an issue, because it didn't start coming up again until recently. If racism was such a big deal, why do we have in 2008 to 2016 a black president? Why did Virginia vote their first woman of color as a lieutenant governor? Why is Kamala Harris vice president? Don't start citing that we're systematically racist when all these things are happening. People can go out. I know, they want to say that, oh, it's the majority of black people who are not able to do stuff. I know a lot of white people who feel the same way, feel oppressed, and they don't want to do nothing. So, it's, you can see it everywhere. You can see racism everywhere, everything. um, I've experienced it myself. Whether you want to say, oh, you're lying. No, in Miami I did experience it, where there was people of color from the island of Haiti who did not like white people. And they really hated one of my friends because he was biracial. I have a cousin who's biracial. He has experienced it. And he almost lost, if I remember his story correctly, he almost lost his son to it because of the fact that they wanted to take away the son, because they're trying to say him and his wife were being neglectful when they were taking him to hospitals trying to figure out what was wrong with his son. So you know what? It needs to stop. It needs to stop now. For all of the people, especially the leftists, who say that, oh, they're progressive and everything else. You're not progressive as long as you cannot tolerate other people's ideas and, and stop calling them names because they don't agree with you. This Southwest employee obviously didn't agree with the situation of this mother and daughter, and look what almost happened. And that's my thoughts on it. But what are your thoughts? Like, share, subscribe. Any topics? We'll cover any topics that you want us to cover with the Brothers of Liberty. We definitely do want to expand. We might create another channel to expand on entertainment topics. Who knows? This channel right here, we try to do more for political and social discourse. But like I said, you ever have a topic? Email us, brothersofliberty76 at gmail.com. And we're always here going to be remind you what liberty stands for, because we're going to remind you what true freedom is and ought to be.